Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, October 27th, the 9th day of Mar Cheshvan. As our great week here at Eitz Chaim continues, we had a beautiful Bar Mitzvah celebration, part one, for James Langman yesterday morning here in Shul with some of his classmates. We'll continue it on Shabbos. He's going to Lane, and we're going to celebrate with him as well on Shabbos, a Mazel Tov. And yesterday I said today, but really I meant Wednesday. Tomorrow we're going to do a little video of a presentation for James and his family. And also last night I had the privilege of standing under the chuppah with Jenny Grad and with the entire family. It was really a beautiful, beautiful scene. Jenny and Moshe got married last night, so Raz and Michael, Mazel Tov, what a beautiful simcha, and it was so great to be there with you and to have this week of simchas and many things to celebrate. Today, our Dvar Torah and our video are sponsored by the Pantirer, Pines, and Schwartz families, as today is the yahrzeit, the 12th yahrzeit of Mari Pantirer, Moshe Michal ben Rav Elazar Pinchas. I was thinking that since I've been here every year on Parshas Noach, which is always the parsha before the yahrzeit, the family comes together and we say words of praise, words of remembrance, because as we have said many times here in Eitz Chaim, we stand on the shoulders of giants. And I personally, I said, if only I only have a glimpse into the greatness of these lives, and I see the beauty that they produced in their families and the institutions that they built. I wish I would have had time to get to know them and to be able to know them even for the smallest amount. But we always spend Parshas Noach, and if you remember, I think it was last year, I'm completely lost track of time because of what's going on, but it was last year that when Rabbi Justin Pine spoke in Shul so beautifully, and always making the comparison to Noach. But since of COVID and Baruch Hashem, because of Simcha, so that it took place privately this year, but now I'm already thinking about Parshas Lech Lecha. And whereas our association with Mari Pantirer was always with Noach, I'd like to make the association this year with Avraham. We read about the greatness of Avraham Avinu. His career, as it were, starts in this week's parsha in earnest. We're told he's told to leave his house. We don't have the details of why he's told to leave, but he's told to leave, and he goes to the land of Israel, and God promises him, and he's with Sarah, and they take other people under their wings. And I said, this is entirely appropriate for someone who had to leave his whole life behind. He was the only survivor of a very, very large family, and he came and he rebuilt. He met his beloved wife of 61 years, I believe, at the DP camp where they married, and they came to America eventually and built a life together with their friends and a beautiful family as we know it. And he had a tremendous appreciation for America as he was able to live the American dream. So I'm trying to think of these parallels. There's Avraham who has to leave and Avraham who has to build and rebuild. And it kind of just hit me in a couple of ways. So first of all, many of you may have heard that yesterday, and it's always the week of Lech Lecha, yesterday was Yom Aliyah. Yesterday was what's called as the day of Aliyah, the day that we celebrate those people who make Aliyah, those who dream to make Aliyah. I hope that it's within all of our plans to make Aliyah, because Israel is our homeland, and I know that for Mari Pantirer, one of the things that was most precious to him was the land of Israel and the state of Israel. And he, even as he recalls in his own testimony, by the way, and I have attached a YouTube video of testimony that he gave for King College a number of years ago, which I think you should take the time to watch. It's very, very moving. But he came back to his hometown, and he was trying to find family members. And there already people were saying, just go to Palestine, go to Palestine. But the institutions that he built in Israel, to own land in Israel, and to have always Israel as part of his everyday existence and his everyday yearning, so it's fitting that the yahrzeit is right around Yom Aliyah, that the day in which we celebrate our ability and our relatively easy ability to go to Israel. I think certainly coinciding with the yahrzeit is something that's very meaningful. If I could be a little bit on the mundane side, and by the way, that's part of living the American dream, we know that that Murray embraced American sports, and I know that many in the family got that from him. I think Elliot in particular, Dodgers, Rangers, football, and how imagine that right now could be tonight. It could be tonight that the Dodgers will win the World Series. I mean, is that something? Now, I'll read you a quote, something that Larry gave at his eulogy. And he said, "My father loved sports. When he came to the States in 1949, he immediately became a Dodger fan." So it's why Dodger fan, of all things? I mean, you would think somebody comes to New York, New Jersey area, you'd become a Yankees fan. Obviously, the Dodgers were still in New York at that time, but why the Dodgers? Look at this. His reasoning was simple. They embraced Jackie Robinson, and any team that would accept a minority who understood that equal opportunity was right, we all deserved and were entitled to what, and that equal opportunity was the right we all deserved and were entitled to, was a team he could place his loyalties with. And then, later on, Sandy Koufax became icing on the cake. There's even a story told, I think, where he was driving through Times Square and he saw Sandy Koufax walking on the street and he stopped to get out of the car to speak with him. Really impressive. And finally, Avraham Avinu was somebody who did not keep his ideas to himself, meaning his belief system, his belief set, and spreading monotheism throughout the world, which was spreading Torah and also spreading acts of kindness, or maybe spreading Torah through acts of kindness, was a life that Murray Pantirer lived. I'll read you a quote from Justin Pines, Rabbi Justin Pines. "Zaidi spread Torah to those around him. A man who never demanded respect but always commanded respect. He imbued in his children a commitment to send all 9 of his grandchildren to Jewish day school and had the blessing of seeing his oldest great-grandchild begin Jewish preschool last year." By the way, there are many more. At this point, there are 4 great-grandsons named for him, 4 great-grandsons. Mason Schwartz, of course, here at Eitz Chaim. Murray Capel. I remember the first time it was a Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur a few years ago, and the kids are running around after one another, and I hear one calling, "Murray, Murray, Murray," and I said, obviously it must be named for Murray Pantirer. Robert Murray Auerbach, and most recently, and I had the privilege of being at his bris, Murray Lieberman. So what a zechus, by the way, to have so many people named, because when that happens, as you know, in the Jewish family, that you live forever. But Rabbi Pines continues. He said he had the blessing of seeing his oldest great-grandchild begin preschool last year, Jewish preschool. For Zaidi, service of God was also meaningful and important. On a macro level, he helped to build shuls from New Jersey to Jerusalem. On a personal level, praying next to Zaidi over the past few years was an extremely moving experience. He followed every word of the davening and made careful decisions as to when to summon the strength to stand and when to remain seated. And then there were acts of loving kindness. Zaidi's commitment to charity and to treating others with respect cannot be overemphasized. In 1949, Zaidi was at a UJA appeal in the Bronx to raise money for people who moved to Israel. Zaidi was working in a shop making $25 a week. Baba was pregnant with Larry, and he was paying $10 a week for a furnished room. When others volunteered to give $10,000 or $5,000, Zaidi stood up and he said, "I give $2. He understood the importance of giving whatever he could, and he inspired others to give as well. If this doesn't immediately speak of Avraham Avinu, of the patriarch of a family, the patriarch of our people, who brought others into the fold by leading with action, by leading with acts of kindness, by spreading the beauty of the Torah, and always aspiring to be in the state of Israel, then I don't know what does. And we see the fruits of his hard labor here in our shul, here in our general community. So to Nancy and Larry, and to Betty and Howie, to Lisa and Alan, and to the entire family, may your father, your grandfather, your great-grandfather's neshama have an aliyah. We wish that your mother, your grandmother, she should be well, she should be healthy. We should celebrate simchas together. And I am in awe of what one person is able to accomplish in this world. And it's so inspiring for all of us because I see how it trickles down from generation to generation. As I said as we began, that we stand on the shoulders of giants. And indeed, a giant Mori Pantirer was. Moshe Michal, Rabbi Elazar Pinchas, Shem should have an aliyah. And as he would say in many of his Divrei Torah when he finished, Am Yisrael Chai. Have a wonderful day.